So in our last video, we discussed about how would you go about importing raw data in Tableau. In this particular video, we will discuss how would you do the same thing using Python Pandas. I normally try to learn coding or for that matter any concept using some visualizations. It really helps me. So I'm going to throw out a story out there. Think of a broken wooden bridge that you want to cross. You want to cross from here to here, and in order to cross this, you would need to first understand which part of the bridge is broken and how to sort of navigate through it. The best way to do this is probably use your eyes. So think of Python Pandas as your eyes. Python literally your whole body. So basically Pandas is essentially an analytics library which is available in Python, which helps you analyze data or for that matter visualize data. So think it from that perspective. On that note, so let's try importing Pandas module first of all. Since Pandas is a module in Python, so we say import Pandas as PD. You could do either Control Enter or you could say Alt Enter. Alt Enter will bring you to a new cell, while Control Enter will only run that particular cell. From here, we very quickly want to read your data. When you're reading your data, you're essentially think it from the wooden bridge example. When you're reading the data, you are essentially looking at the bridge and trying to analyze which part of the bridge is broken, what condition is the bridge. So that's you're essentially getting in all the data in there. So over here, we've put in df. df is giving a name to this whole thing. PD is Pandas, as you can see on top over here. Read underscore CSV is essentially a function or a module which is available in Pandas. So it's a read function which is available in there. And then this is the path to your CSV file. This is where your data is located. You want to do Control Enter. Now so this means the data is read properly. Now the next best thing you want to do is you want to have a look at your data. How does it look? And start analyzing it. So the best way to do that very quickly is df.head. As you can see over here, looking at head probably gives you some idea of the data. It could be the tail as well, which is the bottom of the table. Head is literally the top of the table. And if I do Control Enter in here, for that matter Alt Enter, what it would give you is first 5 rows of your data. You can navigate through it. You can see all of the columns. What sort of data types do you have? You can do df.tail. It will give you the bottom 5. If you don't want top 5, you can even do 2 in here. And this will give you just first 2 rows. For the matter over here as well, you can do 2 rows. Now from here, we've looked at our data, we've read the file, we've looked at the data. Now the next step is we want to understand how does your data look like. You want to describe your data. So describe essentially gives you the mean, minimum, maximum, all the quartiles, 25%, 50, 75, essentially giving you a sense of what is the mean max of your data. Also realize we only have the measures in here, which means the numbers. Only have the measures in here. Okay, so we do df.describe. This is one way. Now the other thing I want to do in here is I want to understand what are my data types, or first of all, what are my columns? What are my different columns actually? I want a list of all the columns. So you do df.columns, as the name suggests, it will give you all of the columns in there. Now the next thing is, I want to understand what data types some of these columns are. So for example, in this case, I want to understand what is video ID. Well, in common sense, video ID will be essentially a string, or it could be a number at the most. Title will be a string, but let's confirm it. So what we want to do is, we want to write in type, because we are trying to understand what type is it. Now, after that, df, that's where our data is stored, and then likes. All you need to do is alt enter, and it says integer. So likes is, all of them are integers. So you can do, you can basically go through all of these and basically get an understanding of what data types you have. Now, the other thing that I want to understand is very quickly is, how many nulls do I have in my data set, right? Because that is very important. So if there are a lot of nulls, you can basically either, drop one of the columns, because nulls means there is no value in those columns. You don't need those then. So what you do is df dot not null, and once you enter this, what you would get is any place where your values are not null, it will give you true in here. And you could say is null as well. Is null will actually give you a true wherever there is a null. So in this case, you can see there aren't many, you don't see many trues in here, or you don't actually see any trues in here. So, but this is good, but I essentially want a count of how many nulls are there. So what I do is sum this will give me a good idea as to how many nulls you have. You can clearly see description has got about 3917 nulls in there. But other than that, I've got only in channel title there is one null. So I think we are good to go. Now very quickly, think it. So I'll bring to you the visual part of it. So, when you're crossing the bridge, you want to see if there are any missing tiles, which is essentially looking at the nulls. I've got the code written in here. Essentially, you can use is null. You can do fill NA. You can do drop NA, which is basically dropping some of the columns which have nulls, a lot of nulls. Understanding the kind of tiles. When you're crossing the bridge, you want to understand what is it made of. Are these rotten wood or metal, or what's going on in here? So that means understanding your data types. So that's how you do it. Now, in order to visualize your data, think of, wearing sunglasses. If it is too sunny, or, you want sort of, if it is too sunny, you tend to wear sunglasses. And in order to visualize your data using, like, you want a chart in there, either a histogram or a bar chart. That's literally looking at your data, right? So what do you do in there? You say df.view count. In our case, we've got view count right over here. We want to plot it, and then basically we define what kind do you want to plot it. Do you want to plot it as a histogram or bar chart? And what you do is alt enter, and what it would do is it would plot your chart in here. Now in this case, you can clearly see this doesn't give you a lot of value, as in most of the values are restricted to 0, between 0 to 0.5. So you want to put a filter out there. How would you put a filter? You do exactly the same thing, but just after df, you want to add a filter, which is saying if my view count is more than this amount, then only give me a plot. And let's see. So this still gives you a better picture as to, you get a good understanding as to, between 1, 2, 125 to 150 is where you have a lot of so this is a good way to get to this. Now I think that is it for today, at least in this one. We will continue with the same as to the next steps in either your data preparation or data cleaning, and further understand some of those quick sort of tips with some visuals. So remember, whenever you're thinking of data, the first few steps, right, in order to analyze your data, analyze your raw data, what you essentially need to do is think of this methodology. You've got a wooden bridge that you want to cross. What are the first few things that you want to do in there? You want to understand if there are any broken tiles in there. You want to look at your data. You want to understand what types of those are there, and then you want to visualize the data as well. So you visualize the data by using either a histogram or a bar chart, or it could be a pie chart. It could be any one of those. Well, this is it for today. Thank you.